Well, hello, hello, hello. I am Pastor Rhonda, founder of Celebrate Life Cancer Ministry and your host for Celebrate Life today. And I am so happy that you have joined us for another episode of Celebrate Life today around cancer awareness, cancer information. And today's conversation is what not to say to a cancer survivor. So I have my friend with me, Laura Franklin. Hello, Laura.
Hello, Pastor Rhonda. How are you today?
Simply marvelous.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So you about ready to jump into this conversation?
I am ready. I am ready.
Now let's qualify this. We are both cancer survivors. So I am a 20-year inflammatory breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed at age 40 and I was diagnosed with stage 3B. Yeah. So I actually went through a lumpectomy, 6 rounds of chemo, a mastectomy, 4 more rounds of chemo, and then 25 days of radiation. And Laura, what's your cancer journey?
Well, I am. My second diagnosis was 2016, so this is what 2021. So I'm a 15-year cancer survivor of DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma in situ, which is breast cancer of the milk ducts. It does not metastasize, but nonetheless, it's cancer. So I went through the first time I went through 36 rounds of radiation. And then the second time, I could not, you can't radiate the breast twice. So I just opted for the mastectomy with reconstruction.
Okay.
So, yes,
Wow, reconstruction. What type did you have?
I had the tram flap.
Me too.
You did? Well,
Hmm.
mine failed, but that's okay. It wasn't supposed to last. There was a reason why God always has a plan. But yeah, I did the tram flap, and it was no joke. That's no joke with tram flap. People think it's a glorified tummy tuck, but come on now, the benefits are not have nothing to one to do with the other. So get that out of your head for those who think, oh, she just
Yeah.
got a tummy tuck because no, no,
Was that not because it has its benefits, but
yes,
you pay a price. You pay a price.
you
In
do.
fact, I remember when I had mine, one of my girlfriends called who had a similar surgery.
Mhm.
And she said, "So how you doing?" I said, "I'm all right." And she said, "Hey, are you using that bed to sit up and lay back down? You know, the power bed?
Oh yes.
Are you using that?" I said, "Yeah, of course." She said, "You better stop. You don't have one of those at home." I said, "Oh, good point, good point." So I said,
Yep.
"Okay, let me practice sitting up
Yeah,
because
you do get used to those finer things in the hospital.
yes,
When you go home, you're like, oh, where's that button?
like
Where's
you're
that
right." So we want to talk about what not to say to a cancer survivor. Um, and while we realize that that people who make the comments really, most of them make them out of love.
button?
They make them out of, I don't know what else to say. Sometimes they make them without thinking.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm going to say this up front. If you have said anything, or if you said something yesterday to somebody, just go say you're sorry.
Yeah.
Just fix it because we're all learning.
Hmm.
We're all learning what this looks like, what it feels like, what to do, what not to do, where something might be normal when you're not sick or not diagnosed, it's not normal, once that diagnosis comes. So we want to first give everyone the opportunity to know that it's okay. You are forgiven. This is not a bashing session. This is an education session. But if need be, if you think about it and you realize you've said something, hopefully you can apologize. But if not, forgive yourself and just let's try not to do these again.
Yes.
Okay. Because even just a couple of months ago, I made a huge, huge mistake.
Mm.
And one didn't know I did until the patient actually told me.
Wow.
I was crushed. Um, And my comment had, and I don't know exactly what I said, but my comment had to do with their weight because
Mm-hmm.
they had lost so much weight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in being inquiring about it, found out it was connected to health. But nonetheless, it didn't make the person feel good. And that was never my intent. So at least I had an opportunity to apologize.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
But let's
That
talk
was on
about,
my list too.
okay, well, let's go for the list. Let's go on that list.
So no, okay, so just one of the first things I would say this for the nurses in oncology. You know,
Mm,
when you first come in, I think a good thing to do is to read the chart before the patient comes in. And I know it gets busy, you know, things happen. But one of the things you don't want to ask for someone who's just been newly diagnosed with any type of cancer is, what are you here for?
ooh,
So, you know, if I'm in the oncology department, I'm not there for a physical, a regular physical. I'm not there to get my eyes checked or my ears checked. You know, so one of those, and then you got to say the words again, like, I have cancer, and the doctor, you know, you got to explain to them when they're the professional. So I would say that would be one thing, just for the health professionals. You know, when we come in, when any patient comes in, this is not jail. You know, you're like, what are you in for?
oh, I never even looked at it like that.
You know, I think it would be really great if you just glance the chart now and just say, okay, they're in for this. And so you say, hi, Mrs. Whatever, or Mr. Whatever. You know, I read your chart. Let's get started. That way, that eases their anxiety. That lets them know. It kind of shows that you care enough to even find out a little bit about why they're there, and then the conversation can flow from there. You know, so that would be one thing. What do you think about that one?
Actually, I kind of want to stand a little bit on the professional side, health professional side, a little bit. Because by now they should know what triggers and what doesn't. So I'm
Mhm.
not letting them all the way off the hook.
Right.
But one of the things that I know, when at least when you go to surgery, they always ask you, "What's your name? Why are you here?" So some of it could be programming on their side.
True.
So why are you here? So that I know that whatever was written is or is not in alignment with what you intend to have happen today.
Hmm. Yeah, that does make
So it has its pros and cons,
sense.
but we know if the healthcare professionals listening, that's not comfortable for us.
Yes, yes. It's not. It's
Or they need to say a little more. I see that your chart says this. Do you have any other concerns?
yes, yes. That again, that lets them know that you've at least done some of your homework,
Yes.
and then that gives them an opportunity to say, "Well, I haven't talked to my doctor yet," or whatever. You know, then you can ask those questions or whatever. So yeah, that's. I think that was great. Yeah, I can let them off too soon, but yeah, just know that's you know. So another question that I will say for just people in general, like you said, sometimes we ask, it really is out of love. Sometimes it's out of fear because we just don't know how to react to someone close to us who's been diagnosed. But like the question, are you going to die?
Oh,
That's a huge question to ask somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer of any kind. You know, even if it's finger cancer, you're going to ask, because again, sometimes the word cancer almost immediately is associated with death. Now we all gotta check. We all gotta go. That's true, right? We none of us are here to stay. But to kind of re-traumatize that person, are you going to die? And you want to say yes because we're all going to die, but what they really mean is the prognosis that you're going to die in a year, 6 months, or whatever. So again, just being mindful, just kind of think before you speak, like Pastor Rhonda said earlier. You'd probably say it out of love, concern, and maybe a little bit of fear, but just to kind of tailor that to who you're speaking with, and not so much are you going to die. It's just kind of rephrase it.
right, right,
I
right.
don't know how to rephrase "Are you going to die?" But change it up a little bit. Wait, something about "Are you?" I don't know. What do you think, Pastor Brown? They help me out here. What would you say if they don't
So
ask?
yeah, that's deep. That's deep. So, but I've learned to ask, what do I really want to know?
Mm,
Because the truth of the matter, I don't think that person really wants to know if they're going to die. They really want to know. how's the journey gonna be? How is this journey going to unfold?
Yeah, and they make
Or
how
what?
long am I gonna live versus when am I going to die?
Yes.
Mm,
Um, yeah, first take that out your vocabulary.
right.
Let's remove it first. But second, but yeah, we can what is the doctor saying, is the probability of healing?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's another thing that where there's so many people that are afraid to die,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't get excited about living. So they hang out in the world of I might die, but they don't hang out in the world, what do I have to do to just keep living?
Right.
So we want to move more people to life. One reason is because research is improving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as research improves, so does cancer treatment, so does cancer care, so do
Mm-hmm.
the options for cancer treatment. So, with all that bearing that in mind, death is not the number one, is not immediate in
Right.
most cases. In fact, I've met a number of people that are metastatic, which is stage 4 cancer, which means that you're pretty much going to live with cancer the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
However, these individuals have been in that state for 5, 10, 20 years.
Wow. Mm.
So to show that, and that just goes to show that even a stage 4 does not mean they're dying tomorrow.
Right. Right.
Okay. If there are clinical trials out there, if there are, other kinds of treatment out there for that type of cancer,
Mm-hmm.
then the probability begins to increase. So what people really want to know is, are you going to be all right?
Yeah. Yeah. But they
And
just don't
that's a
say
much
those
softer
words.
question.
Yes. But initially, we don't say, "Are you going to be all right?" We go to the other one because again, we associate that word with death.
Exactly.
I want to go back to what you said about the weight loss with someone you've spoken to. Um, that's also a good thing not to say. Like, so I remember when I was real, because I used to love to run. I still love to run. Where I was working out like crazy. I've always been active, doing something, football, baseball, basketball, something just to stay active. And I remember I was just working out so much in the gym and just eating right and everything. And I had lost a lot of weight on purpose, you know, and eating right. And someone said, "Hey, you've lost a lot of weight. Are you sick again?" And so
I'm sorry. Maybe we should have reviewed the questions ahead of time.
wait, I paused because, like I said, when and I don't know if I mentioned this the last time we spoke, but when I was a kid, we, growing up, just ignorant to the fact of other things, is the words that we say. We would say, "You look like a cancer patient." You had patches in your hair, or they were really skinny, and so that came back to me. And so when that person asked me that, I'm like, no, I'm just eating out. I'm eating, working out, whatever. But it happened so often, it made me think, well, am I sick again? But
Mm,
I knew I wasn't. But again, it was just one of those things when you have familiarity with people or certain folks, and they've seen you go from illness to healing. But again, like you said, we'll be cancer survivors the rest of our lives. And so that's already associated with it. So if we slim down maybe too fast in someone else's eyes, then they'll probably ask that. That makes sense for them to ask that question. Even especially if they haven't seen us in a while.
right.
And that's, but it took me a minute. Like, okay, maybe I lost too much, But then again, I know they're not saying out of from ill will. It's concern. And I think I'm going to err on the side of yes, saying that they are really saying that you look good, girl, not that you're sick, not that you look like a cancer patient. But we all look like cancer patients because, well, we're cancer survivors. So we'll always look like cancer patients. So we have to change that. Like you said, fix our brains and our minds to think before we say it, because it's just so easy. It's just, again, we get comfortable in some of the phrases that we use. But I just thought about that when you said that. And yeah, they can't accuse me of that now because COVID. But that was it. Just I just remember when you said that. So it's always just interesting. Again, we will just kind of we will always be traveling in that vein. The rest of our
And
life.
the opposite is true too.
Hmm.
Those that gain weight, I gained weight, big time weight with that medication.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I say with the medication because the weight gain began when I was eating healthy.
Mm.
So, somebody see me now, it's like, oh, okay, I'm quite different, quite different. And it's harder to lose the weight, medicated weight, I'm gonna call it, for
Yeah.
lack of a non-medical term.
Mhm.
Because the kinds of medications that we still have to take,
I'm gonna use
they
that
still have
that medicated way.
because there are medications that we still take,
Hmm.
that can cause and contribute to weight
Yeah.
gain
Yes.
and weight loss.
Hmm. That's
Okay,
true.
so what's another question?
Not so much a question. I would say each time that I've had to say I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and this happens in the medical profession, just the corporate world, and just people in general. Whenever I've said I've had breast cancer, this happens.
Oh, oh, you know who else gets that? Any woman who is diagnosed with cancer, they straight automatically assume that it's breast cancer.
They go straight, yeah, 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 yeah. And but they've always just looked down at my chest area, like, well, it didn't, it's not gone now. I mean, I'm just telling you, that's what I was like. But it happens immediately, and it blows my mind because again, you have to keep your eyes in their eyes, no matter what it is, whether it's prostate, lung, whatever. But you just stay focused here. You look later. Don't like you're I'm telling you, it's just almost immediately. And when I had after my treatments and everything, I'd had people saying, "Well, girl," and then the women, especially, we do this, and I think because women just have a more intimate relationship with one another as far as being comfortable to say certain things. And
Right.
so I would have women coming up and they're touching their own breasts. Well, how would I know? And I'm like, "Hey, we in church. Just wait." or or I'm in the store. I'm like, hey, I don't even know you like that. I need you to put those away. So, but I've had those encounters. But again, with women being, we are comfortable sharing so much with other women that it's just
Mhm.
natural. But I've gotten so used to it that if it happens now, well, not during COVID, but if it happens, I'm just saying, hey, let's go over here and talk so you can have some privacy.
Right.
So and if there's nowhere to go, like in a different room, then I just take them to another part of this particular room so that she can explain what it is that she's feeling because it could be just fibroid tumors, it could be it could be anything other than cancer. But sometimes I've seen women do that on a regular basis, men too. And but men, I know men get breast cancer as well, but it's not as prevalent with men as it is with women when you get that diagnosis. But yeah, also when you say you've got cancer, it's automatically assumed it's breast cancer when
Right.
there's so many more out there. I just remember, that's not so much what not to say, but just kind of not to do. When you tell somebody I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, your eyes automatically go to the shirt and come back up.
Yeah.
And I think it's just human nature. We are who we are. But, that's funny.
Okay. I put the question out on social media.
Mm.
Ask a couple of people, what should people not say to cancer survivors? This is one I heard a lot. Come on, tell me what it is. I didn't even tell you yet. What is it? A lot. Everybody everywhere.
Not to say
Because
that.
you look like you don't look like you have cancer.
Yes,
What
yes,
does
that was
looking
on my
like cancer
list.
say? What
That
does
was
that
on my
look
list.
like?
Exactly? What does it look like? What, 90 pounds now? All your hair is gone. But there's a preconceived idea of what a cancer patient looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, and so People are spot on. That was on my list too. You don't look like
Yes,
a cancer
indeed.
patient, like what I'm supposed to look
So
like.
what can they say instead?
Maybe they like you look good for what you've been through. Instead of saying you don't look like a cancer patient, you look considering all you've been through, you look well.
Mm,
But especially if it's somebody who's got an intimate relationship with you. Now, if it's just general folks in passing, if you've gone to different events where the speaker might be a cancer survivor. I've done it too before. Before I was a cancer survivor, I'm like, she don't look like she had cancer. I've done that too, just to my head. But maybe say something like that, like and say, "Girl, you looking good," or "God, man, you looking good for what you've been through." You know, versus well, you don't look like a cancer patient. But again, that's our, that's kind of our human nature of what
yeah.
we think a cancer patient should look like. So.
And to me, it also adds the components like you don't believe me, because somebody actually, somebody else posted earlier this week, and their comment was, "Are you sure you had cancer?"
Mm,
Somebody actually asked them that. Are you sure?
mm,
So what you think I'm lying? You think
right.
I'm going through this because I want to?
It's all in my head.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
interesting. I wonder where that one came from and what someone they were dealing with when they would why they would ask that.
I'm just gonna guess. I don't know the person, so I don't know. Um, but if they know other people that have gone through cancer and they've seen that person's journey,
Mm.
maybe they think this journey doesn't look like the other journey. And so many journeys are not the same.
Pretty much, I think every cancer patient survivor's journey. No one. It may be a few things you have in common, but nobody's journey is the same. And I remember a lady at our church. Her name was Laura as well, and she was going through chemo and still coming to church on a regular basis. She and still working. She never skipped a beat.
Mhm.
She has passed since then, excuse me, but each time I'd go up to her, I said, "Girl," I said, "you're looking good. How you feeling?" She said, "I feel pretty good. Maybe a little tired, as part of the treatment, but she was staying healthy as far as what she was eating. She was sleeping well. Like I said, she was still working. She was working in corporate America, so she was doing well. And so it's just amazing how even though she had lost her hair, but her hair was already short anyway, so it wasn't to us. It wasn't a huge change. Like if somebody had hair down their back and now they're. So you could even really tell she didn't look like what she had been through, and so
Right.
that allowed other people to approach her in a way of happiness, joy, and hopefulness versus, "Oh my God, you're gonna," that kind of thing. So I hate to do that, but I'm telling you, my first diagnosis and my second diagnosis, I did not want people around me who were gonna only think about death.
Yeah.
That was a requirement. You could not visit me and just walk in looking like you coming to my wake. That was not allowed. So, so yeah, everybody's journey is different. I think I applaud those men and women who can continue to work
Mm.
and kind of stay in their keep their normal routine going. I wasn't that way the first time. And the second time, of course, my challenges were a lot different. But plus, my family wouldn't let me out the house because if I'd had a way out, I'd have taken it. But I applaud people who do that. Who find that courage to keep going and the strength to just keep walking regardless of the prognosis and the treatment that they're going through. So to all of you, to all of you.
Amen. Amen. Another person said, um, people should just listen to their loved ones in silence if they don't know what to say honestly.
Hmm, I agree.
Because if you listen long enough, they're going to tell you what they know.
Exactly.
And the key is I've learned that a lot of people don't necessarily share with their family right away
True.
if they have analytical family members. So if you have your family member, your best friend, your confidant, your mentor, whoever you're going to share with, because surely you don't have to share with everyone,
Right.
but hopefully you have somebody at least that you could share with. Um, if they want to ask questions
Mm-hmm.
that I don't already have the answer to. So that's going to make me frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tend to try to get all my questions, everything I could think of
Mm-hmm.
that I want answers to before I share with certain people. Because they're going to ask me questions that I can't answer or that I haven't asked. And they'll be frustrated and I'll be frustrated because I'm like, I didn't ask that. I didn't ask that. I don't know. I just want to get this over with.
Exactly.
Right. But they're like, but when, how many times, how often, where did it come from? Why is it there? How come it's not gone? Da, 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 da. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And then they have to remember who they're dealing with. And
Yes.
they've learned me enough to know, oh, we forgot. You don't ask many questions. You
Right.
know.
I totally agree with sitting quietly, because sometimes, even like you said, the survivor or the person who's newly diagnosed just does not know. They And one of the things about just with trauma, one of the things they tell you not to do is re-traumatize the person by
Mm,
asking them to tell you over and over again what happened, the diagnosis or whatever the case. And so we have to be careful. But like you said, if especially if that person is a talker, they're going to eventually share with you, because never underestimate, this is for caregivers, family members, whoever's listening, never underestimate the ministry of presence. You know,
right.
you don't have to have a conversation. You don't have to know what to say when you walk in, whether it's a hospital room, someone's house, whatever it is. You don't have to know what to say. Just go in, hug, or whatever the case, and then you sit and you let them talk. And like you said, they'll give you enough information. And if they don't answer those questions that you have floating in your head, leave it alone. They
Right.
will trust me, they'll eventually get to it, because they're going to want to talk, because they need to get it out. As they're learning, then they want to share with the family or friends. With my kids, the second time I did tell them, and the older ones were a little bit old enough to understand a little bit, and I did give them more information. But like you said, a lot of times we don't say anything, and I think it's a cultural thing where we don't share our business, if you will, regardless of what it is, until it gets so bad. Then you want to try to explain all the things that are going on. Then that's when they have a million questions. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. Just sitting still and just listening. Maybe volunteering to do a few things for that person. Or wait for them to call you and say, "Hey, this is what I need. Can you help me with this?" So yeah, I agree with that.
Let them know that you are available and tell them what you're available for. What are some options of things you're available for?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't clean house, but I can help you get your house clean,
Yes.
right? So if somebody were to say that they needed something that I don't know how to do, if I was going to try, I would try to do it to appease them.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not on my in my, as they say, wheelhouse, cooking, you don't want me cooking for you. I only cook 3 things. Only, let's see, where's my camera? 3 things. So you probably want something a little bit healthier than those things that I was gonna fix. They'll be good,
Mm-hmm.
but they're simple and they're good. Um, and then if you those people who come over and sit and listen, the assignment is, and this is where I go to play the football game. Find a hole and get in it.
Mm-hmm.
On a football field, the only way you're gonna make it to the other end is if you can finagle yourself through all these other players on the ground. So find a space of something. While you're there, be observant.
Mm-hmm.
What did the patients say
Mm-hmm.
that they needed, or did they wish they had something, or did has someone continuously dropped the ball in a particular area? Don't go picking up situations that you will not do.
Yeah. Right.
But as you're there and you're listening, or you're on the phone and you're listening, or they're like, I'm not hungry. Every time you talk to them, I'm not hungry. Maybe you need to ask them, how's the groceries in the house?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They might not be hungry because they don't have anything to eat.
Right. Right.
But learning how to ask what you really mean and what you're really trying to get to
And if they have
is
small
important.
children, If there's children of different stages in the home. Maybe someone needs dropped off to school or daycare, drop off, pick up. Maybe they need help with homework. Different things like that. Because if you don't have that support system inside the home, like you said, if you're there visiting, observe, like, okay, or if especially if there's a toddler, maybe they're kind of whiny, they want to be with mom or dad all the time. That's where you can kind of pick up the pieces with them and kind of scoop him up or scoop the child up and say, you know what, I'll take it for a couple days just to give you guys a break. Those kind of things, they go far. It really does go far, knowing that you already got enough stress with your diagnosis or your treatment. So to have a toddler underfoot, it just kind of adds more stress to the situation. Even though you love the child, you're not.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the love.
Nothing to do with the love. It's just that I just need a little bit break, let my brain kind of calm down and get some normalcy in the house. So yeah, I think those are all great ones.
But sometimes on that one that you just mentioned, sometimes the patient needs to have home still, have a stillness at home
Mhm.
because they have not expressed how they feel about their diagnosis. They might need to scream.
Mhm.
They might need to cry, but they're sucking it up,
Mhm.
to be strong for everyone else.
Yep.
And that's the reason when you go to visit someone, don't stay long.
Don't stay long. You
They're holding up they're holding their emotions till you go home.
you got to
They
be there
could
for
be
6 hours.
exhausted, but they're sitting up looking perky for you.
Now, want to watch a movie? No, no.
Mm.
You just you need to show your face. But I always tell people, I need to see your face. When I haven't seen some friends of mine for a long time or family, I'm like, I need to see your face. And I mean in person, but and if I can, I'll see you in person. If not, send me a selfie because I need to see that you're okay. I hear you on the phone,
Yeah.
but I need to see that you're okay. So once I've gone in and I've sat down, I've observed, looks like everything's still and quiet, then I'm gonna go and get out of here and get out of your hair. And that's, your visit shouldn't be no more than 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what you're there for. But yeah, you're not there to stay long. You're not there to eat dinner with them and then hang out and watch a movie.
Even
And
if you bring them dinner, don't
even if,
stay and watch them eat it.
yes, even if you brought them dinner, if you have not eaten, that's your fault. You need to go to a drive-through and go back home and eat. Because you don't need to stay there. You're dropping that off for them. Yeah, so they don't need to worry about you going to get more plates, and then now they got to clean up your, it's yes, those are good things.
But I had a person that cooked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I would have surgery, this person would cook for me specifically. And when they would come by, they would literally, I felt like I was in a, white tablecloth restaurant because they would put the tray down, lay everything out, make sure I was comfortable. And when I was done eating, now they stayed because they knew even that was going to be a short lived. But
Mm-hmm.
they picked up all my stuff, even if anybody else was there, did not matter. It was all about me. So she picked up everything, cleaned the dishes, and took her things home and was prepared to come back another day and serve me again. That was just awesome, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and yeah, man, that is because you don't have to do anything. You have to worry about it. She's gonna clean it up. She's gonna
And I
put it
didn't have to entertain her.
right, right. And see, that's part of the when you drop off the meal, that person might feel like they need to entertain you if you hang out a little bit longer. They really don't want to. They really just want to go rest, or like you said, they need a still, quiet house, just so they can holler or cry in silence. Some, like you say, some people rock, some people holler, some people might walk around. You might be going in circles. I don't know, but it's their time. So
Yeah.
those are great. I have another one. It has to do with the death part. Um, I remember the second diagnosis. Someone asked me this, and so they will. This is something you don't want to ask a cancer survivor or cancer patient. Can I have your favorite whatever when you die? So if I didn't offer it to you before my diagnosis, you can't have it. You can't have it with my diagnosis.
Oh.
Who you gonna leave to do this? Who gonna leave? What you gonna leave that to? Who you gonna? Those are just But people again, in general, they mean well. I think in general they mean well. Again, we're not bashing anybody. It's just really educational. We've all probably said something silly or thought about it like that. I wonder if who's she gonna leave that card to? Whatever. But just they've got enough going on in their world to try to figure out who they're leaving stuff to.
And I'm not
Especially
leaving it to anybody because I'm not going anywhere. How about that?
right.
There and clearly those people that tend to ask that question, that actually ask it, they probably have never seen anyone in hospice.
Mm,
Because in the hospice world, you can tell things are different.
yes.
Even though we yet believe, we have faith that God is still going to bring them through. We still, are hopeful, because God can do anything He wants,
Yeah.
anytime He wants. He can raise the dead. I've seen people graduate from hospice where
Wow.
they have been in the hospice for 4 or 5 months
Mm-hmm.
and literally got better and literally went back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's hospice doesn't always mean end of life,
That's true.
but there is a different look.
It is.
And even still, that's still not. So you're more concerned about the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I have than about me.
Yeah.
And surely I wouldn't want that to be the last concern a person had about me leaving here,
Right.
you know?
You know what? It might be more of a. It might be the reason people do that is because they may be uncomfortable with death.
Mm,
Um, so they talk about inanimate things. I don't want to talk about the emotional side. I want to talk about the fact that my mom or my dad or my cousin, my wife, my husband is passing. So let's just talk about silly things. Silly to us on the outside, but at that moment, it's really important to that person, so they bring it up because they can't face the emotional part of it. But
yeah.
unfortunately, if people concentrate on things like that, you miss those moments. You
Yes.
miss those precious moments.
Precious moment.
I just got a text message from someone the other day, where someone's on hospice and they're kind of going downhill fast, but then they perk up like as if nothing's wrong. And I told them, you need to relish this moment right here. God is giving you an opportunity to talk about whatever you can, because sometimes what happens is after that day or two of alertness and activity and they're eating well, it's like, okay, they kind of get up out of this. Sometimes it goes the opposite direction and they start going downhill fast. And then that's people say, well, I don't understand. They were just talking, they were up and moving, they were talking and laughing. I just believe that's God's way of giving you one last good opportunity. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to pass away from that. What I've seen is that there's a burst of energy,
Yeah.
and if they're sitting up, people are visiting, they're enjoying their time with family, grandkids, or whatever, and then a couple days later, maybe a week, depending on how long, then they're quiet again, and then they'll pass. And so it's just good to try to focus on the person versus their things, because really, at the end of the day, none of us are taking anything with us.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. But I think that's just one of those defense things where people don't feel comfortable about talking about death. So they talk about things like, who gets this? Can I have this? You're not gonna need this when you go, so can I have it? Stuff like
But yeah, it could be that simple. Yeah.
yeah. So I've enjoyed talking about this. Um, as I grow and I talk to more cancer survivors, and newly diagnosed patients, I really think before I speak. Um,
Mhm.
and if I feel like any of those questions that we pose, even the things that we've talked about, are going to pop up, I don't say them at all. I'll just maybe ask a favorite color, just something that takes them away from what we're already dealing with. Because if I say any of these things, what are you in here for? Like, what's your diagnosis? How long are you going to, if I say all of those things, all it does is either going to get on their nerves or it's going to bring them down. It's going to make them feel even more less hopeful than they've already been feeling. So I'm glad that we talked about this. Do you have any more? Any?
This one, yeah, here's another one. I'm sure you heard this one too. You should never tell a cancer survivor about someone you know with the same type of cancer who died. It's like,
I'm
you know,
not laughing, but I'm just like, you're right.
it's like they didn't make it. Okay, so what am I supposed to feel? So,
So you saying I'm not gonna make it, you know?
yeah, right. And we don't, but that was a moment of thinking about a loved one,
Mhm.
connecting the two. But then there's nothing that ever really comes behind that.
Right.
Versus, but they didn't quite make it. However, I'm so encouraged to see the fight in you, that,
Yes.
you're going to make this happen, and I'm going to stand with you, and I'm going to fight with you. I'm going to pray with you. I'm going to pray for you,
Mhm.
that your healing will continue to come.
Yes.
You can't leave it
You
at
can't
that.
leave it, you can't leave it at that. He died from that. It's like, okay, now where do you go from there? So like you said,
Right,
grow
right,
in that however.
right. And so even when I think I was like you, I was staying with my mom when I was going through my cancer journey.
Mhm.
And I told her, anybody who thinks I'm not gonna live cannot come through your house,
Mhm.
cannot cross the threshold.
I like
So I said, because I'm not dying.
Mhm.
And if they think I am, they don't need to be here. We need to have like minds in this place.
Mhm.
But the journey is not easy. There are some of us that when we go out, when we step out, we know how to step out and make it look like everything is a-okay.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. So I even tend to I remember the day that I wanted, I in my mind, I was ready.
Mhm.
I could just get in a car, just go around the corner to the store and come back. That's all I needed to do. I got dressed, took me an hour, and I'm a 15-minute from up, so from up to dressed. 15 minutes. That's all I need. An hour, I'd have to do something, sit down, catch my breath. Go do the next phase, come back and catch my breath.
Mhm.
So when I got in that car that day, I pulled out of the driveway, I made that little turn, and I'm like, where do you think you going? I was exhausted
Oh
just that fast, and just backed it up, parked that car, and went back and got back in the bed.
man.
So the journey is not easy, but we learn the journey is also not always short.
True.
So we've learned that there are some people who get a chance to see, some people that actually catch us in a downswing,
Mhm.
but then most of the time we just tough it up. That's who we are as individuals. We tough it up so that
Mhm.
we put on our happy face in front of everybody. So that when I'm by myself, I can just breathe, just breathe. Because
Yeah.
someone actually told me, they like, do you ever wonder why people don't spend a lot of time talking to you or encouraging you? I'm like, no. Because every person that has called here, you've told them you are okay.
Mm. Mm.
You're not okay. That was a friend. You're not okay.
Yeah.
Stop telling the people that you care about that you're okay.
But I think it's also just women. And again, culturally, I think we automatically feel that we have to hold it in. We got to be strong for everybody else except for ourselves. And
Mm,
then if we do say, well, and we run the gamut of all these different things going on, that person on the other side of the phone may not necessarily either want to hear all of that or they can do anything about it. So why spill the beans? Why give up all this information when the person really can't do anything for you? So I think that's just something we do as women in general. And then culturally, we're not going to spill all our share all air all our laundry for people. But again, if that's somebody that really cares about you, people that really want to love on you, you know, that's still something I have to learn as well. I mean, aside from cancer, just in general, when people call, "Girl, I'm good. What's going on with you?" I'm not going to give you the A through Z about all of what's going on. Because for one, I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear all of that.
Nor do you have time.
Yeah. And number two, it's probably just more. It's just stuff. It's stuff that can be remedied. It's just it's just a lot. Some people just have a lot going on. So
Yeah.
I did want to ask you one question. You may have mentioned it last time we spoke. When you were first diagnosed, now it's been 20 years. What was the prognosis then?
Okay, what's prognosis versus diagnosis?
Well, the diagnosis is that you have metastatic breast cancer. The prognosis is basically how long did they say you have to live your lifespan, 5 years, 3 years with
Oh,
therapy, go, you can do 10 years, 20 years. Because my prognosis was, well, that's what they said. Well,
and
and
that you shouldn't say to a cancer survivor. And we're laughing, but surely this is not
right,
funny.
because we've been through it and we've
Yeah.
experienced it. So it's not funny. It's just like, it's a doctor, am I gonna die? Well, that's not
Don't start a sentence with that.
no person with that. So what was your prognosis?
So basically, with inflammatory breast cancer, stage 3B, only 3% of the people in 2001 got that type of cancer. And then the probability of living beyond 5 years was slim to none. And I'm not only surpassed the 5, I'm already 20.
Wow.
So it's tough even to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what got me through was, one, thinking of my entire journey as if I had a bad cold.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a cold, you want to get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll do whatever it takes to get it over with. I did not spend time thinking about the diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Never was in denial, but I spent time thinking about it. Okay, so we know that now.
Mm-hmm.
Now what you gonna do?
Right.
So most of my time I was counting down instead of up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have 6 sessions. I had 5 more to go. I had 4 more to go. I'm counting down until we can get to the better set of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is how, versus the other side, which is I had 2 sessions of chemo already, and oh no, no, I didn't count that way. We say 2 down and 4 to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and that was how my mind, had to stay. I am a child of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I simply determined that this is how it's going to be. I'm making it through this. I'm not going to succumb to it. It is not going to win. I'm going to win. And so now I don't have to worry about what's not going to happen. I just need to figure out, what do I need to do to make it happen.
Right.
And once I uh, trusted my doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, this is the cancer team for me,
Right.
then I just sat back and rested and trusted in them as professionals
Yes.
and kept on praying.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because God, if something's not supposed to happen, don't let it be.
Right.
But I'm trusting these people who know more about this than I do to guide me through the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And anywhere you want to put a pause or a beeline, let me know.
Right.
And I did get a pause in the middle where I went to chemo one day and my blood count wasn't where it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, come on back here. We need to give you this shot of something, something, something. And I'm like, oh no, what? I'm afraid of needles. So we're not doing anything optional,
That's what
right?
that wasn't on the plans. That wasn't on the previous.
No. And so I said, okay, so why am I having this? And they're like, because your blood count is too low.
Mm-hmm.
I said, all right, let's make a deal. I am going to leave here and go and handle and build my blood, and I'll be back in a week.
She said, "Bill
And
Murray."
when I get back in a week, if my count is still down, you win, I get the shot.
Yeah.
If my count is not down, then that I know what I need to do in between sessions so that I can be ready for my chemo, because that was the only time I was off.
Yeah.
But because I actually blended the Eastern and Western medicine.
Okay.
I talked to my oncologist and I talked to the herbalist person,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out where the two met.
Mm-hmm.
I let my oncologist know what I was doing, and I let the herbalist know that I'm going to continue with chemo.
Nice.
I'm not giving up one for the other. I'm doing this as a combination, and it worked out for me.
Mm.
But different things. Oh, you're just going to have this shot. No, I'm not. No, no, not as the first choice.
Now, them white blood cells are no joke. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Whatever mine were low, he would call me right away.
Mm.
Most of the time, it's just that I needed to rest.
Oh, wow.
I was doing more than I should have been doing, and if I took a good nap for a couple of days, that would put it back up.
A nap for a couple of days, you didn't wake up in the middle?
Wait, that chemo. I mean, if I just rested for a couple of days, like I just, I
Okay.
took a nap that day, and then the next day I didn't do too much, and I
Okay.
rested and I ate well, then he would make me go back in, and they would be right back up. So sorry,
Okay.
you just slept for 48 hours.
Well, we know that sleep is important, but really in 2 days, straight away? Amen.
That's funny.
So that's actually all the questions that I see on this website, on Facebook, that
Well,
people
yeah,
ask.
those are some really good questions. I'm glad that we were able to get that because some of that stuff I didn't even think about. You just never know what other people are dealing with and what the ideas that they have out there. So that's great. I have enjoyed this conversation as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we're often in situations that we just don't know what to do.
mhm,
We don't know what to say. Our heart is breaking when our loved one is diagnosed. Our emotions go haywire when we're diagnosed.
mhm,
And we've never been on that road before with that person in most cases. So we really don't know what to say. So I'm going to lean with the person who said, just listen, and if you want to ask a question, ask the, ask the question from the positive perspective.
mhm, mhm. There you go.
So rather than, how much time do you have? How can I contribute to your healing?
Yes,
Because that's really what they want to know.
really. Yep.
How can I help? And
Mhm,
and and give the patient, the survivor, the opportunity to say, I don't know.
mhm.
Because it's new to them too. They don't know. And if you have a suggestion, bring it.
Mhm.
Let's try it. Let's see if, well, do you like this? Do you like that? Our taste buds go away. My brain said I wanted a hamburger, but my taste buds said, no, you don't. Right?
Yeah.
So we know that cancer survivors waste a lot of food,
Mhm.
but it's because of that. The
Yeah.
mind says I'm ready for it. The smells, it smells good, but
Mhm.
the taste is just
Yeah.
not normal.
Yeah.
Right. And another question is, how long are you gonna be sick?
Because I got things to do. I can't
Well,
be here for you for 6 months. How long you gonna be?
right,
Oh, yeah.
right.
That's not a good question.
And number one is I don't know.
I don't know.
And number two is I have a whole lot of good days in between the bad days.
How long?
And number three is, do we need to thank and excuse juror number 12?
Right.
Like, if you're done now, thank you for your service. If you can't do this anymore, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you have done up to now, even if they haven't done anything in your eyes. I actually had a cousin. She said, would it be all right if I treat you as if you didn't have cancer? I said, yes. because she couldn't handle it. That was the most honest question that I received. She
Wow.
said, "I don't know what to do with you having cancer. I can't, it's not processing. But
Wow.
so is it okay if I treat you as if you didn't? Like, can we just be normal?
Yes.
We can just be normal.
You can just be normal.
Because
I
on
support
most days, that's what I am,
that. I
normal.
support that. Yes. I support that.
But if we just listen, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit and listen. Let them tell you what they know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drill them with a bunch of questions. And just breathe with them as they go through it. Ask them, do they want you to go? If they say no, don't be upset.
Right.
If and if you say don't leave the open question of, if you need anything, let me know. Well, one, you can't fulfill anything.
Yeah.
You can't do everything. Your budget may not allow for certain things to happen. Your time may not allow for certain things to happen. Your skill set might not allow for things to happen.
Right.
So give the whole thing. Like, if you need someone to clean the house, if you need someone to run groceries,
Be
if you
specific.
need someone to watch the children, that's when you call me. That's how I can help. If you just need somebody to be present and not talk while they're there,
Yeah.
that's how I can help.
Yeah. That's good.
So,
That's good.
and and in the midst of it all, seek God's direction.
Yes.
Pray. Ask the Lord, what can I do for this person? When
Mm-hmm.
they come to your mind, pray for them.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the unction to do something for them, find out if it's something that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yes.
not, maybe a couple people could get together and make that thing happen.
Right.
But God promises never to leave us nor forsake us.
That's right.
It's us that don't turn to Him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, so we want to be an encouragement to you to seek the Lord in all things, to keep Him first, even in the midst of your journey, and to pray for the survivor,
Mm-hmm.
the caregiver, the family, the neighbors, the friends,
Mm-hmm.
the professionals that have the opportunity to serve them,
Mm-hmm.
the people who clean the rooms where they are during surgery. There's so many different levels of people. There's those nurses that come and calm your nerve before surgery. There's the nurses or the volunteer team that comes through and provides encouragement, make sure you're comfortable while you're there for care. There's so many different people. We definitely want to keep them lifted in prayer as well.
Yes. Definitely. Awesome.
Well, it's been a good day.
It has.
But feel free to go onto Facebook and or YouTube and send us any additional comments or questions or things that people have said that we need to help them. We need to help them know not to say that anymore. Oh, but we didn't we didn't tell the cancer survivor though. When someone says something that seems a little tough, like some of the things you don't say, when
Mhm.
someone says those things, I want to encourage you to just take a deep breath, take it in love, even if they seem like they were mad.
Yeah.
Different people, we all have emotions. We're all going through this together, and we want to pass on the same grace and mercy that we would want them to give to us. If you can say it in love, like, honey, that wasn't a nice thing to say to me today,
Mhm.
then do so. If not, just pray for them too.
Yes.
Because even Jesus said they know not what they do.
Right.
I find myself in that spot on occasion that I messed up. And I've been serving people in this world in this component of life for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I mess up. But the thing is to make sure you're able to go back and apologize.
Mhm.
Yay. Well, Miss Laura, thank you again for another great conversation.
Glad
Um,
to.
and, and as we always say, choose life.